Hey everyone, hope your week is going well. My name is Crystal Sky, and welcome to my little mini-series that I have been calling Crime Dip, where I pop in for just a few minutes to discuss a true crime case with you. If you just don't have time for a thorough deep dive on a true crime case, you are totally welcome to like, subscribe, and come hang out with me every other Wednesday, where we will spend just a few minutes discussing a true crime case that has little to no information. It's true crime in a short amount of time. Today's case is very similar in the Raymond Carey Jr. case in that it's just a mysterious disappearance. It's like someone just vanished off the face of the earth. Today, we're going to discuss the mysterious disappearance of Stephen Mylan. So Stephen Vincent Mylan was born on October 19th, 1977 in Canada. He lived with his family in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. And when he graduated high school, he went then to Humber College in Toronto. And apparently he majored in business. And that's pretty much all the background info we have on Stephen. So let's get to the events. So on February 13th, 1998, Stephen, who was 20 years old, left his family's home sometime after midnight. He left in his car, and his car was a black two-door 1991 Chevrolet Beretta, and he had the license plate 336ZHK. Now, when Stephen left his family's home, he was wearing a black V-neck velvet sweater, a black waist-length coat that had a sheep fleece collar and lining, a brown corduroy hat, and his black canvas backpack. And he was also wearing a small watch pendant on a gold chain. Now, when Stephen left his family's home this night, he was described as having brown hair, brown eyes, his height was approximately 5 feet 10 inches tall, and he weighed approximately 150 pounds. He also had a birthmark under his right arm that was about 2 to 3 inches long. And like I just said, this would be the last time any of Stephen's family or friends would see him. That's what he was wearing, that was the car he was driving, and that's how he was described when he left sometime after midnight from his family's home. Now, the next day, February 14th, Stephen's car was logged in as entering the United States. It was logged in as crossing the border via Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls, New York. Although it is not clear if Stephen was behind the wheel of his car when it came through the border. Nobody knows. And since nobody knows that, no one knows what Stephen's next steps were. There's no trace of him. That is the last trace we have of Stephen, is him leaving his family's home. However, we do know where Stephen's car ended up. So days later, Stephen's Beretta was found abandoned, 2,100 miles away from his family's home. Yeah. It was found abandoned in a parking lot at the Colorado River Gorge Outlook, which was in the Grand Canyon. Maybe I should say at the Grand Canyon, which, as we all know, is in Arizona. Yeah, really far away from New York. Now, what's even more weird is not only was the car abandoned, the keys were in the ignition, and there was no sign of where Stephen might be. There were no clues. Nothing left behind. I'm not even sure if his backpack was left behind. Now, those around the area recalled seeing the car there for a few days, but no one saw who dropped the car off, who got out of it, or anything like that. Now, this parking lot that Stephen's car was found in was near some Navajo jewelry vendors, and an indigenous man who sold products at one of these, kiosks or stores or whatever, saw the car and ended up stealing it. He had seen it there for a few days, and he noticed that the keys were in the ignition, and he figured it was abandoned, so he took it. The man ended up driving it around until eventually the Beretta broke down. And then after that, he scrapped what he could, sold what parts and stuff of the car he could. And then he abandoned the car at Lookout Point at the Grand Canyon. Specifically, he abandoned it on State Highway 64, west of Cameron at milepost 281, which was a scenic overlook of the Little Colorado River. And this location was not far from the Gorge Overlook. And it was 5 months later, on Sunday, June 7th, that police then discovered the Beretta. A sheriff's officer with the Coconino County Sheriff's Office out of Tuba City investigated the abandoned car, right? Because they got a report of abandoned car. Didn't have license plates or anything. Been sitting there. And so, they had gotten a call for them to come check it out. Now, by this point, right, Stephen had left his family's home months ago. And it is even unclear if Stephen's disappearance was even covered by local news outlets, whether in Arizona or in Canada, because there are no news articles at all about Stephen's disappearance, just about the Beretta being found abandoned. Now, investigators, of course, were able to track down the owner of the Beretta, Stephen, via the VIN number, and that's when they spoke to his family. And Stephen's family said yes, it was very out of character for Stephen to just up and leave like he did. And the only possible reason or explanation that they could come up with why Stephen would even go to the U.S. was that a comment that he had made at some point in time, and it was about getting a hair growth product that apparently you can get over the counter here in the U.S., and that's really the only reason they could think of why he would take a spontaneous trip to the U.S. And it is also unclear when Stephen had made those comments to his family. And it also didn't explain how or why his car was found so far away from home. Coconino County Sheriff's Office Detective Gil Marino said that they were going to then conduct a thorough search of the area of where the car had been abandoned and where it had been seen before. Now, there's not a whole lot publicly known about the investigation or about the search. I guess at one point, investigators postulated that maybe Stephen's disappearance was linked to the disappearance of another Canadian man at the Grand Canyon National Park around the same time. It was thought maybe Stephen and this other guy knew each other, but they never released the name of that other Canadian man who went missing. I guess at one point, the unnamed Canadian man's remains were found, not sure exactly when, but they were found off of Yavapai Point, which was about 3 hours away from the Colorado River Gorge Overlook. And the only thing that was reported on is that it was rumored that Stephen and this unnamed man had complicated home lives, but that information was never elaborated on to the public. Later on, investigators ended up just dismissing any link between the two because they could find no evidence whatsoever to corroborate it. Quote, "They did an extensive search. It's unknown what happened. So we don't know where Mr. Mylan is. We know where his car wound up. We know he wasn't found in the Little Colorado Gorge, and he hasn't contacted his family." And this was according to Joe Sumner, who in 2008 became a volunteer for the Coconino County Cold Case Unit. And the year prior, he had actually retired from the National Park Service as a criminal investigator. In 2012, there were some remains found in Coconino County, and it was thought perhaps, they were Stephen's. So DNA of members of Stephen's family was submitted, but it was not a match. Their DNA was also submitted to a national database that its sole purpose is to find missing persons, but their DNA has never popped on any unidentified remains. And that's pretty much all that is known about this case. Yeah, not a lot of information at all. With cases like this, there are of course so many theories, right, and speculations about this case with no way to substantiate or corroborate any of it, right? Some wonder if Stephen even made it out of Canada. Did he even cross the U.S. border in his car? Or could it have been his killer? Could have something else happened and someone else picked up his car and crossed it? We don't even know that. I've seen other people wonder if perhaps he didn't commit suicide. Especially after the complicated home life came to light. Again, we don't even know what that means. And some people wondered if the car thief was responsible. Although I was confused if they meant the indigenous man who stole the car that he thought was abandoned. There were some people kind of pointing the finger at him oh, could he have had something to do with it? But I have to imagine that the police checked him out, right? Because he would be the most obvious suspect right off the bat, right? There were also a lot of people who are from the Grand Canyon area and the surrounding areas. And on a thread about this case, they were talking about dudes, you have no idea how many bodies are in the Grand Canyon area that will just never be found because it's so expansive. There's so many, right, crevices and cliffs and all that stuff. So it's very possible that Stephen's body is in the Grand Canyon somewhere and it'll just maybe never be found. I don't know. And of course, now I'm gonna shoot it to you guys. What do you think happened? Do you think Stephen even made it out of Canada? And do you think maybe if he did, maybe something happened to him in Niagara Falls and then someone took his car all the way to Arizona? Or maybe he did make the road trip to Arizona? I don't know. It's very weird. Especially the date that he left in February, right? And he was in college. That's usually, I think, like the time that classes are in. I gotta imagine the Canadian school system is similar. If you know, let me know. But that was really weird. Like, he was in college, and kind of leaving when classes are still in session is also weird. Maybe that's why some people think that he committed suicide. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will see you 2 weeks from today, where we'll go over another true crime case that just doesn't have a lot of information. If you want a more thorough deep dive into a true crime case, or true crime cases, I should say, check out my other series, Crime Dive. That's every other Tuesday. I've got a bunch of videos up for that already. I've been doing that for a couple of years. Hope your week ends well. Hope your weekend goes well. And I will see you either next Tuesday for a Crime Dive, or 2 weeks from today for another Crime Dip. Bye-bye.